The bank lobby fell silent the moment she shuffled in. Her clothes were faded, her shoes worn out, and her trembling hands clutched a small, almost falling apart purse. She looked around as if afraid she didn't belong there. But she walked toward the counter anyway. And that's when the millionaire noticed her. Charles Whitman, a man so rich that people whispered his name, stood just a few feet away, waiting for his private banker. His expensive suit, gold watch, and arrogant smile drew attention wherever he went. He watched the old woman slowly approach the teller and chuckled. Some people, he muttered to himself, really choose the wrong places to visit. But he had no idea what was coming. The hook, a request that made him laugh. The old woman finally reached the counter. The young bank teller, Emma Clark, smiled kindly. "Yes, ma'am, how can I help you today?" The woman swallowed nervously and whispered, I just want to see my balance." Her voice was so soft it barely carried across the counter. But Charles heard it, and he laughed, loudly. People turned. The old woman's head lowered in embarrassment. "You came all the way here," Charles said mockingly, "just to check your balance. You know you can do that on a cheap phone." "Oh wait," he smirked, "maybe you don't have one." Emma shot him an angry glare, but Charles didn't care. He was used to laughing at what he didn't understand. The old woman didn't even look at him. Her dignity seemed to hold her up when her body couldn't. "My eyes aren't good," she said quietly. "I just want to see my balance, one last time." "One last time," Emma repeated. But before the woman could answer, Charles stepped closer. "Fine, let's all see this legendary balance," he joked. "Maybe she has $10 saved all her life." The scream that shocked everyone. Emma sighed, gently taking the old woman's bank card. "Your name, ma'am?" "Margaret. Margaret Thompson." Emma typed it in. The screen loaded. And then her eyes widened. She covered her mouth. Is something wrong?" Margaret asked. Emma tried to steady her breathing. She turned the monitor slightly, not enough for the millionaire to see, but enough for her own shock to settle. Charles noticed the reaction. "What, did she go negative?" He smirked. "Let me guess, 50 cents. Emma's voice shook. "No, sir, not even close." With trembling fingers, she gently rotated the screen so the old woman could see it. And the millionaire leaned over casually. Then froze. His smirk died. His face fell. His breath caught in his throat. Because the number on the screen wasn't $10. It was $8,460,000. $8 million. The entire bank went silent. Charles staggered back, gripping the counter. That's impossible," he whispered. But it wasn't. The story behind the millions. Emma asked softly, "Ma'am, do you know you have over $8 million? Margaret smiled faintly. "Yes, I just wanted to make sure it's still there." "But how?" Charles blurted. You're poor." Margaret finished for him with a tired smile. Charles shut his mouth. Margaret sighed, her eyes drifting toward the window as if watching memories replay. "My husband, Peter, was a schoolteacher," she began. "We didn't have much, but he invested a little every month, and he always said, 'One day, Maggie, we'll have enough to help someone who really needs it.'" "And you never spent it?" Emma whispered. "We never had children, so after Peter died 20 years ago, I just kept saving. I lived simply, because the money was never meant for me." Charles felt something unfamiliar twist in his chest. Guilt. A secret pain. Margaret continued, her voice trembling. "I live in a small, old house. People think I'm poor, but I stayed there because that's where Peter and I lived our entire marriage. I didn't want to leave him behind." Emma felt tears sting her eyes. Charles felt his arrogance collapse. "But now," Margaret whispered, "my health is failing. The doctor says I don't have long. So I just wanted to make sure the money is still there." Her voice cracked. "Because it's time to give it away." "Give it away," Charles repeated, stunned. "To whom?" Emma asked gently. Margaret smiled. "To children who can't afford school. To single mothers who struggle. To veterans who are forgotten. To people no one laughs at, because they're already suffering enough." Her eyes then met Charles's. "And definitely not to those who mock the poor." Charles lowered his head in shame. The millionaire breaks. It hit him harder than he expected. His wealth meant nothing. His pride meant nothing. But this fragile old woman, who owned more money than he did, spent her life sacrificing quietly, lovingly, selflessly. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, voice breaking, I'm sorry. Truly, I didn't know." Margaret smiled softly. You didn't need to know. You just needed to be kind. Charles swallowed the lump in his throat. He wiped his eyes quickly, but people saw the tears. The final request. Margaret held Emma's hand. I want to make the donations today. All of it. Before it's too late. Emma nodded, tears falling freely. Charles stepped forward. Ma'am, may I help? Not with money, with whatever you need. Letters, paperwork, transportation, anything. Margaret studied him for a moment. Why? She asked gently. Charles took a deep breath. Because today, you taught me what true wealth looks like. After a long silence, she nodded. Then walk with me. A legacy that changed lives. The bank staff gathered as Margaret, Emma, and Charles moved to a private office. For hours, they worked. Margaret donated millions. Scholarships for poor students. Funding for community libraries. Support for homeless shelters. Aid for widows, veterans, and cancer patients. Each donation was made in her husband Peter's name. Charles watched, humbled beyond words. When everything was done, Margaret squeezed Charles's hand. You have a good heart, she said gently. It just needed a little reminder. Tears rolled down his face. Thank you, for reminding me. The touching end. 2 months later, Margaret Thompson passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her funeral was small, she had few relatives, but the people whose lives she changed filled the entire chapel. Scholarships in Peter's name began changing futures. Shelters expanded, libraries reopened, and Charles, he changed too. He sold his luxury cars, closed his penthouse, started a foundation in Margaret's memory. And every year, on the day he met her, he visited her grave and whispered, "Thank you for teaching me that wealth is measured by the lives we touch." The message: never judge someone by how they look. You have no idea what battles they fought, what sacrifices they made, or what treasures, seen or unseen, they carry in their hearts. Kindness costs nothing, but its reward is priceless.